Welcome back to another episode of Life Between Screens. My name is Anthony Urquidez. Thank you. And I am a father and a creative and a husband from Southern California. And it's actually been a few weeks since I've been able to take some time to sit down with you and reflect on what's been going on. You know, when I started this podcast, it was kind of with the intention of highlighting my journey as a creative and as someone who is currently trying to transition into new roles in his life. And with that actually comes having to live that life. And man, the podcast was a little by the wayside for the past couple of weeks. And to be honest, I really didn't know what direction I wanted to take with it. I don't know. I have an issue of following through, or at least, I don't know. Sometimes I get off course, you know, and it's really hard to navigate when you don't have some sort of compass or some sort of, guiding light, if you will. And with fuzzy goals come fuzzy results, you know. And what I'm realizing is that it may have been 3 weeks since I have been able to sit down and talk with you guys, but I'm glad I'm here today. And, you know, in those 3 weeks that I've been out and missing and MIA, I've actually been designing and I've been working on things. And I've been really trying to make sure that I'm not too concerned with the outcomes of what I'm doing versus leaning into the direction. And let me elaborate on that a little bit. I don't want to live in the results of things. You know, I don't want to have rest on my laurels, if you will. I don't want to achieve one thing, whatever that may be. You know, say if I'm a baseball player. Oh, you know what? Who am I to talk about baseball? I know I'm wearing a White Sox hat, but say if we're talking about wrestling, you know, and we get to WrestleMania and we have the most celebrated event of the year. Well, the next night is Monday Night Raw. And you know, what am I going to do? Focus on how great WrestleMania was for me, you know, sure, but you still got to show up the next day. And with that, you know, I'm trying to learn not to live in the results of things. And as long as I'm setting my aim high and leaning in the direction of my goals, and, I feel like I should be good. I feel, that's the most important part. I have a problem of trying to do everything all at once. You know, when I get a goal in mind, I want to accomplish it right then and there. And I don't know. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough when, you know, I've got a son, I've got a wife, so I've got a family, I've got a career outside of what I'm trying to do with my design. You know, as I'm trying to transition into this role of, you know, and go along this journey of trying to do design and strategy full-time on my own, you know, where I'm not relying on essentially a paycheck from a company. I am going out and trying to create something, whether it be a business or consultancy or whatever you want to call it, or whatever it may be, I'm trying to aim in that direction. And as I've gone along the past 3 weeks, it feels like while I've been leaning in the direction of things, I've been forgetting what the goal has been and forgetting, forgetting what brought me here and what created this podcast, what makes me feel good about helping others, because man, I forgot that this creativity is a superpower. It sounds pretentious. It can sound pretentious, I guess, to certain people, but it really is. The design for good, designing for a purpose, and so, I've got many ideas in my head at all times, and sometimes it's hard to kind of differentiate which one I should follow and which one I should kind of leave behind. What I've been realizing and what I've been reminding myself, because I haven't been wanting to record a podcast because it feels like I got nothing to say. It feels like, what's the point? And, I don't know if you guys have ever gone through it, but getting yourself in that negative thought spiral, and amplify, where it just amplifies. It's like feedback when you're at a concert and somebody has a microphone and they put it down next to the monitor or next to a speaker, and you hear feedback, and then all it does is the feedback, the microphone against the speaker causes feedback, which then gets picked up by the microphone again, which then gets amplified and sent right back out to the speaker, and then gets picked right back up and then amplified again once more. And it just creates this really, really, really uncomfortable feeling of where you're just like, man, either turn the microphone off or turn it down. To do something. And me, myself, it's very easy to allow a negative mindset, and this mindset of I can't do this, or this mindset of scarcity and fear and doubt. I mean, it's a perfect storm. So it's been really hard when I feel like I'm not accomplishing things, when I feel like I'm not hitting my goals. And there's certain things that I've been doing, the 36 days of type challenge that I wrapped up on Instagram, and working on logos and branding material for Circle City Brewing. That's been really fun, and getting the feedback on these things has been really great. But you battle those feelings of, what is this really doing to move the ball forward? Because I'm one of those that I like I guess, what is that the perceived progress. My perceived progress is I'm not making any progress. It feels like I'm not moving forward at all. And that's where it's important, right? Like how I mentioned before, having the goals, being able to have something to calibrate with. You're calibrating your feelings with your goals, And then you breaking your goals down to kind of like these smart, attainable little tiny morsels, if you will. You know what I mean? To where, I don't know, man. I don't know why I get upset with myself when I get upset with myself when it's like, that whole what's that damn phrase that everybody uses, or not everybody, God, what's the damn phrase that people use of, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I got to remind myself that of sometimes, that Rome wasn't built in a day. And, if I can at least be 1% better, or look at my day and go, okay, what can I do right now that moves this forward? Whether it be recording this podcast or doing some new designs, learning, trying to apply myself, is that the true goal? And I would say, yeah, when I start doubting myself, then it starts feeling like, wow, man, it starts feeling real impossible. And I'm not going to lie, it's tough sometimes, but what am I going to do? I got to take responsibility for things. And I know that in order to take responsibility for things, you got to show up. It's a lot easier to not show up and then have a pity party about, well, what? Why is no one hiring me for my designs? Why is no one seeing the value that I see in myself? And it's like, well, it sounds like I've got my work cut out for me to get myself out there, right? And I guess one would call that the old comfort zone. Have I been living my life a little too comfortable the past couple weeks? There's been some health things that have been on my mind that I'm not going to burden you guys with. Your boy's all healthy. Got the okay. You know what I mean? I'm going a little balder, but that's about it. Little gray nose hairs here and there, but such is life, right? Good thing I'm married. I don't really have to be attractive to anybody else besides my wife. So good on that. Oh man, I don't. The past couple of weeks have been hard. It's been feeling like I've been having a hard time of even getting motivated to sit down and do this for some reason. And so when I sit down and I unpack that and I look at why the past few weeks have been tough, I've been losing sight of my goals. And maybe the goals have been getting out of focus, not really losing sight. So when it's starting to get out of focus and I'm starting to think of all these other things that I want to do or accomplish, when ideas start sprouting, because the creativity, I feel like, never stops. You're constantly, when I lay my head down at night, like, it's real work to not think about what I want to do. That's, practicing meditation is tough. Just being in the moment is tough sometimes. A lot of the times it's tough because I'm 20 miles ahead and 40 miles back at the same time. And, even right now, you start thinking like, well, man, like there's doubt that creeps in, and it's a lot of work to keep that doubt away. And maybe, right. And this is where it's, I got to take the time to sit down and reevaluate and revisit what my goals are. Maybe the ideas are something that come up in my life to try and, I don't want to say distract me, but that takes energy away from me takes energy away from me going at my goals 100%. Maybe. I mean, I wonder if anybody else out there feels that way of like, maybe maybe it's a form of self-sabotage of, oh yeah, well, you can do this and you can do this. And this other idea that you have of, I've got like 3 different podcasts in my head that I want to start. And I've got like 3 other different businesses that I feel in my head that I want to go after. And, but what's the ultimate goal? What am I doing here? Let me not forget that. Ultimately, right? Ultimately, the goal is to be on my own, in the sense of having my own business, having my own, having my own design consultancy firm, me and a couple people and me trying to find my tribe. And, I don't want to say I'm anybody's boss or anything like that, because I don't know. I don't know if that's the actual route that I want to go, versus being able to be out on my own and provide some value to other people, and if that means taking some of the payment that a client would give me and then hiring somebody else to do the best job possible, then that seems like a pretty viable option and pretty decent goal for myself. But what does that entail? How do I get there? And that's the tough part. You read everything and that says this isn't easy, and it really isn't meant to be easy. Doing designs, yeah, that's fun, and it's and I love it. But what's putting diapers on the baby boy? What's putting food on the table? That's as I've gotten older, I try not to have too much. I beat myself up sometimes because I go, man, you should have started earlier. You should have, right? That, when's the best time to plant a tree? Yesterday. Or 20 years ago, right? When's the second best time? Now. And it's like, there's some truth to that, or what can I do besides, okay, well, I accept that, I've gotten a lot of knowledge. I've learned, I don't even want to say knowledge, maybe I've learned a lot of different approaches and tactics, and I've got a lot of different tools in my toolbox. But now here I am trying to evaluate, okay, which one does the best job and which ones are going to provide the most value to people, and what other tools and outlooks and insights do I have that really just weigh my toolbox down. And it's tough, man. It's tough to sit here and be truthful about what am I to sit here and be truthful about what I'm wasting my time on, and that's a tough one. That self-evaluation and requiring the true honesty and admission of like, man, am I wasting my time? Am I doubt? It's a lot of work dealing with doubt. And I will say this, a couple weeks ago, I was in the emergency room. Once again, your boy's fine. Getting checked out, some dizziness, and it's pretty much enough worrying. Go take care of business. Go get checked out, and then we move forward. That was pretty much what I had to do. So I went to the emergency room, and I'm sitting there, and I'm reading my creative design book. You know what I mean, in the business of design, and somebody is I see this guy kind of looking over, and this guy just he leans in and he goes, "Excuse me, what's that book you're reading there?" So I tell him, you know what I mean, and he goes, "I've read that book." Wow, what are the odds, really? And he starts busting out, the he busted out, immediately caught my attention, of Simon Sinek, and brings up Anthony Robbins, and yes, so he starts talking about all these mindset guys, and so I'm sitting there, and I get called back, and I come back to my seat after they draw blood, and he ends up sitting next to me, and we end up striking up a conversation. And he provided a lot of really good insight and a lot of really good perspective on, being the employed versus the self-employed, and the business owner and the investor, right? And then he starts breaking down like what wealth means to him, and he asked me what wealth means to me, and I guess I gave an answer that isn't necessarily wrong. I guess there's no really wrong answer as to what each person finds as what their own definition of wealth is, right? So I said wealth to me was being able to feel as if you're not, being able to feel like you're not having to build the plane as you're landing it. So whether that means, having a little bit of comfort and knowledge and knowing that, okay, like you've done everything that you can before setting out on the adventure, and you're not having to worry about what bills you're going to be paying and trying to, it's like not having to live life paycheck to paycheck and place, it's like a train that's going, right? And you're laying down the tracks like 6 feet in front of the train as it's still moving. And I feel like that's how a lot of people live. It's the analogy of living paycheck to paycheck, and it's tough. I read these articles and these statistics that show that, like, what is it, like 72% of people living now paycheck to paycheck. It's like, that's a pretty big amount. And don't quote me on that, because I could be wrong. Maybe I just switched those numbers. Maybe it was 27%, but I feel like it was higher than 27%. So 72% sounds kind of dead on in my brain, and at least in my perception of it. And what Stan told me, because I remember his name, told me, his definition of wealth is, at the top, you got your health. It's like, yeah, and then you got your family, and then you've got friends, and then at the very bottom, like I think like number 4 or 5 was money, because of course you need money to live and money to take care of things. And I've been so caught up in trying to get out of my 9 to 5 and trying to quickly position myself as an expert. I know I talked about the imposter syndrome a couple episodes ago. Well, it's pretty easy to feel like an imposter if what you're trying to do is position yourself as an expert, and you're not. And so of course you're not going to show up for a podcast 3 weeks in a row because you're doubting yourself and not feeling like you have anything to offer. And to be honest, I'm I don't know. Like that's a pretty big lie I'm telling myself, because if I talk about this and one person gets motivated, and that's the whole point, right? It's to provide value, and do I find this meaningful? Yeah, I do. I feel like this could provide value and meaning to somebody else's life, if not my own, of being able to say, somebody watches this and is doubting themselves and goes, oh, I'm the only one that feels this way. Look how everybody else makes it look so easy. It's like, man, every person has their own battles. Every person has their own, you don't ever know what's going on inside. The grass is always greener on the other side, right? That old saying. And if this at least helps provide some perspective to somebody in showing that, someone else is going through it too. And, I'm by no means, rolling in that freelance or self-employed or business owner dough, and I'm by no means, I talk with my wife about this a lot of, it's, I feel like when I'm only able to carve out an hour to an hour and a half a day of trying to do designs or trying to do something, you know what I mean? Like I beat myself up for it. Not really realizing that all I got to do is change the way I look at things, so the things that I look at will change. And I read something online, and I wish I could remember who. You've got a ton of people on Instagram right now who are providing a lot of great outlooks and perspective. They're utilizing the image carousels, the slideshows on Instagram, and being able to essentially microblog and within 10 slides provide you a great amount of perspective, value, and insight. And one of them had said that, you are, you commute to work, an hour commute, work an 8-hour shift, an hour commute back, and then you have a family to take care of, whether or not you have kids or a wife or whatever, husband, you have a family to take care of, and then you're fighting the urge to relax, rest, and get lazy, and you're only able to get an hour of design time down, rather than beat yourself up for it. Whoever posted it provided the perspective of, why don't you pat yourself on the back for being able to carve out that hour for your life and for your goals? And it took that for me to look at myself and look at the things that I've been going through and the things that I'm trying to accomplish, and I go, you know what? No, I'm working very hard to try and do that. And now let me try and then make sure that, okay, this is where having your goals written down is extremely helpful, because you have something to go back to rather than your own brain, which I don't know if you ever feel this way. It feels like your brain is working against you sometimes, and your thought patterns, sometimes, your greatest naysayer at times is the person that's between the ears, and you start having a cloud for every silver lining, and it just spirals, versus just looking at things and going like, yes, you've got an hour. Now, And let's make sure that hour you're doing the most impactful and meaningful work that you can to, you know, make strides towards your goals. Just make, like, you know, for me, one of the hardest things for me to look at is going like, okay, am I just trying to keep myself busy versus, you know, I have to evaluate myself and take an inventory of myself and go like, okay, what am I doing that is just wasting time, and what am I doing that is gaining time? You know, what am I doing to sacrifice right now in order for later on? You know, in order for the tree to grow 20 years from now. You know, what I'm learning to try and do is I may not have paying clients right now, but let me utilize this graphic design or this creativity as a superpower and use it for good. Not just to keep myself busy, but use it for some good. You know, I've got a project in the works that I've got a week and a half to really boil down before I'm starting to run out of time. And so it's the project that I have in the works is starting a company or a business called Freedom Print Co. Freedom Print Company. And the goal of Freedom Print Company is to release shirts. My immediate goal, not the overall goal right now. The immediate goal is I've got to get some shirts together. I've got to get some merch together. I've got to get, I'm still working on how they'll be packaged and if there'll be a couple different packages. But the goal is to get stuff designed, printed, packaged, and sold online, and to use the profits, 100% of the profits. You know, I just want to cover the cost of printing. I do not want to put any of this money into my pockets. Crazy, right? How weird. And I intend to document everything, full transparency, you know, and making sure everybody knows where every single dollar goes to. But I want to be able to sell merch, sell these little tchotchkes, sell these little wares and goods. And for Christmas this year, I want to get underprivileged kids. I want to be able to provide some toys for them. You know, if I sell one thing and I get 2 toys to be able to donate, cool. It's 2 more than I would have been able to do, you know. But my ultimate goal is there's 50 shirts, 50 packages, minus the cost of printing and getting this done. And I'm probably going to eat the cost somewhat of making sure that the presentation is on point. You know, I want to be able to sell out everything and give some kids a really cool Christmas, man. Like, when I was growing up, my father always took me. We always went to Toys R Us. I think it was Toys R Us, yeah. You know, and we always picked out 2 toys, one for one for a girl, one for a boy. You know what I mean? And please don't get on me on gender roles and all that stuff, please. You know, we chose a toy that we thought a girl would like, a little girl would like, and we chose a toy that a little boy would like. And my dad always pointed out, he goes, you know, we've been very fortunate in our lives of like, we've never had to go without. We've never had to go, or felt less than, like, we've never had to go without. We've never really had to do that, you know. But Very fortunate. But he always kept that perspective in my brain of, you know, you do things for people. You do nice things for people. You know, and you can be pessimistic and you can do whatever, but, you know, I mean, what service are you providing? Acts of service, kindness, you know. And I was thinking about it this year, especially since having my son. It'll be his first Christmas that we really celebrate. You know, we had a little loss in the family last year, so we didn't really celebrate Christmas too much. We were spending a bit of it mourning, you know. So this year, you know what I mean, I really kind of felt like, well, what can I do? What can I do? Like, yeah, I can go out and buy a couple toys and continue that tradition. But I really want to make an impact. Really want to try and provide as much meaning and kindness, you know, to these kids. I mean, I give it all. I mean, I give it up to Nate from SOS Booking in Zabalba. You know what I mean? Because I know that, I mean, for years now, they've been throwing shows that happen around Christmas time to get into the show that have these killer lineups. I mean, these bands are great. I remember when it just started off at a small, I think it was like a hookah shop at the time, and now it's like, you know what I mean, where they've got great lineups, and in order to get in, you gotta get a $10 toy. You know, I'm trying to take that concept and provide and apply it to my own life and my own unique set of skills, right? It's a quote taken. You know, but trying to use this for some good. And so it's like, man, you know, if I can sell a bundle, a package of a shirt, a pin, a lapel pin, some stickers, a patch, and I want to work on something cool, something kind of unique, or at least a little bit on what's up, Kyle? A little bit on more of my tastes. You know what I mean? A little something unique. You know what I mean? Just a little incentive to get these things. And if I could break it down, you know, if I charge $40, if I charge $50, you'll know that whatever bundle you get, it'll break it down and let you know that, hey, this package provides, you know what I mean, three toys for kids. This package provides 4 toys for kids. This package provides 5 toys that we're going to be able to donate, you know, whatever it may be. That's what I've got on my plate right now. And one of the worst things that I have is a lack of follow through at times. And so, I mean, I guess maybe I'm saying this now so it keeps me a little bit more accountable. Maybe I'm saying it now so that way if I speak it out into the world and the universe, someone's going to hold me to it. You know, Matt, Sean, anybody, you know, I'm looking at you guys to keep me accountable on this. And I mean, I don't really, at least, not that I don't think I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it. Like, but I have that doubt. I mean, there's doubt in my head that goes, what if you don't sell all these? Then you're just going to be sitting on merch and you're going to be, it's like, you know what? That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Because there's always going to be a reason to sell and to give back. Because Freedom Print Company for me is not going to be something that's for profit. I don't want to make any profits off of this. I want to be able to do some good. And because, you know, like the Burnley brand guys, you know, but the Lucas and Maddie Burnley, you know what I mean? They've got this great, I mean, the the slogan that they have is work hard, do good. And in 4 words, they break down a pretty complex, I mean, I don't know, you can make it more complex, you can make it more I don't know, man, wordier than it needs to be, but work hard and do good. And I've been listening to a lot of Dropkick Murphys this week, getting back to my roots, and really the song Boys on the Dock really hit me hard, because there's a line in it that says, "Together we are what we can't be alone." And I think that that's a really, really, really strong message. While I'm here trying to worry about getting out of my 9 to 5, I think there's a layer of ungratefulness, and that's hard to say. I think your boy here lacks a little bit of gratitude in being able to do this and be able to take on this venture and be able to pursue meaningful endeavors outside of a 9 to 5, and then also to be able to provide for my family. Maybe I'm losing a little bit of my perspective on that. Who knows? And I think that's there's a lot to think about, right? When you're starting to do things for the service of others. Leela Project has that great slogan. I mean, that's their whole outlook. Shout out Dominic. Because you find yourself by losing yourself in the service of others. And yeah, that's a pretty crucial concept that I don't know. We hear a lot about that these days. I don't care. This isn't, Freedom Print Co. for me. I want it to be something that just gives back. Doesn't really care about politics, race, creed, or color. You know what I mean? Because together we are what we can't be alone. And I want to make quality goods for people in order to provide a little bit of quality of life for other people. You know what I mean? Especially for people who, right now it's for kids who may not know another perspective. Maybe these kids don't really know that somebody out there wants to do something nice for them. And, that's enough to get somebody emotional. And I'm a very emotional person. I cry very easily. I'm not ashamed to admit that, I'm these kids, man, I've been very fortunate to, years ago, and I'm not saying this as moral positioning and moral posturing and virtue signaling or anything. I'm just merely letting you know my experiences. Back when I was a junior in high school, may have been a senior, our history class, we did like a toy donation, whatever, and we got like a classroom filled with toys. And so they needed help delivering the toys to a family. And so, I borrowed my mom's truck. We loaded up the truck bed. I think it was 2 truck beds worth, 2 or 3 truck beds, and a minivan. And we went and we delivered the toys. And and the goods and everything. I think it was like socks, and there may have even been some non-perishable foods and stuff like that. But we went and dropped it off to this kind of this apartment, that's kind of looking rough. And I think it was like a 1 bedroom, just small, maybe 600 to 700 square feet. I mean, this thing was small. And looking back, I didn't realize that I'm pretty sure there were 2 or 3 families living in there. But man, when you could see the look on the kids' faces there, man, if it's something that I'm never gonna forget. In the same sense of like, you never forget what happened. Like I for one, I think it was Thanksgiving or something like that. I went and volunteered at a food bank. I mean, same thing. Providing dinner for people who, weren't as privileged as me. And I don't know why, some people have an issue with that phrase, but I mean, I've been pretty fortunate, and to see that, really I feel has impacted me in a way that maybe I didn't realize. Seeing these people who were affected positively by people wanting to help and to provide, that's given back. It's given me more than, than if I pursue selfish things and impulsive desires, and don't look at the responsibility of, what can I do to make my life a little bit better? What can I do to gather up myself and pull myself together to be a good, decent human being? That works hard and does good. And then, little by little, okay, well, I'm feeling a little bit more pulled together. Who can I help? Who else can I help besides myself? And I think that's a very, very, very important part. It's funny how a podcast about this creative's journey, right, is going pretty. It's full of philanthropy and philosophy, right? Like, who would have thought? But the stuff that I aim to do with freedom, I want to be able to provide that kind of impact to more people's lives. The little that I've done in my life to help others out. It's like I'm kind of realizing now that I've been very fortunate. And so if I were to just sit back and not utilize my outlook and utilize the skills that I've been very fortunate to accrue, and to the skills that I've been very fortunate to, I don't know, man. Design some shirts for kids to get kids toys and to spread some cheer this holiday season. When I was designing t-shirts for friends' bands, I didn't think about any of that. I didn't think about the impact that this quote unquote, graphic design could do. And I got caught up in, okay, well, how is this as a career and this and that? And, I don't know. Call it faith. That stuff will work itself out. As I try and help others, I'm sure that I'll find a lot more perspective on things, and that you know, that aren't necessarily me trying to position myself as an expert for this online social world, right? I don't want to be so salesman gimmicky. I mean, I think you might understand if you see some people online, and I'm not criticizing them. Like, I just can't do that. I can be, this is me. Me almost crying on camera. That's me. Just trying to be as truthful and honest and genuine as possible. And it's tough. It's tough because you're just a guy on a microphone in his office. That's trying not to get too loud because his family's trying to sleep in the other room. I guess it's like what they say. It's like, right. It's who you are when nobody's watching. That's the true definition of character. I mean, I guess I have fear that there's some fear, and you battle that with just pure faith, right? I don't want anybody to think or allude or to assume that, oh, well, Anthony's full of shit. He's just going to go and sell this stuff and then, go buy a couple 99-cent store toys and give it back. No, I plan on filming and doing everything, not for posturing sake and not to show that, oh, look, I don't know. I'm trying to do these things to just be fully transparent. So anybody who is willing to part from their hard-earned money knows where their money's going. Yeah, sure, they're buying a shirt and whatever, whatever else I'm trying to get printed. Sure, they're getting those goods, but they know where their money is going. And it's bigger than just that. It's bigger than just money. It's about making an impact in somebody's life. And if I can, if I can help facilitate that, then that makes everything worth it. 100%, 100%, 110%, man. If I can help facilitate somebody knowing that people, and help facilitate and spreading the message that, hey, someone cares. It's pretty powerful. And it's a responsibility that as hard as it is to find that hour and a half or hour to, whatever in the day to carve out to do, and to make the sacrifices of not going to the bar and not going to does anybody go to bars anymore? Not going to the craft breweries, right? Sometimes I got to sacrifice watching SmackDown with friends now, and watching wrestling or socializing, because it's like, well, I know that, but I've spent 30 years of my life socializing, and so it kind of feels like, God willing, that for the next 30 years, I'll be trying to make a difference, not only in my own life and in my family's life, but in other people's lives. And if design can help facilitate that, if the skills that I've learned and the other skills that I'm trying to learn can help facilitate that, then good. But I don't want to do it to just, you got to pay bills. You got to do that. Yes. You got to make sure that needs are met, and, that you sacrifice a little bit, right? I sacrifice a whole lot, right? Because that's what life kind of is sacrificing. But, sacrificing and service. I think that might be my new way to go. For real. There's a quality, like I have it on the latest thing that I designed for freedom. If you go over to my Instagram, urquidez.co, URQUIDEZ.co on Instagram, you can check it out, and it says it right on there. I straight up stole that Dropkick Murphys line of "Together we are what we can't be alone," and I put it right there at the top because it's a pretty important thing for me to remember. And the bottom of it, it says, "Quality for the masses, purveyors of good." Because I really feel that's what it kind of boils down to. I don't want to cut corners. I want to provide quality. I'm that kind of person. I like giving an experience. If somebody comes over, I'm like a mother hen. I like to provide food. I like to provide snacks, and it's almost taking that same type of I don't know, maternal instinct that I have inside of me, because I have both sides of it, man. I'm a real yin and yang of things. Like I've got my the masculine and feminine side, and that maternal and paternal side. And the maternal wants to help and give and provide, and the paternal wants to take responsibility for myself. And if I can merge those two, man, and walk, walk that thin line, then hey, man, I think that's a pretty good pursuit. And I'm really grateful that you guys have allowed me to kind of vent and to get this off my chest, and that you guys have given me 3 weeks to go through an array of emotions, and I've come out the other end of it with a kind of clearer goal in mind. A clearer pursuit. Working on my website right now. That's big. Working on this podcast right now. That's big. Working on stuff for Freedom Print. That's big. I got to get outside of myself. I got to start interviewing some artists. I feel weird because I want to be able to provide the video content for the people that watch on YouTube, and still got to get this up and get the episodes up on, Libsyn, so that way we can get it up all across the board on anywhere that you can find podcasts. But, that's where it's tough. I got to keep life between screens. I'm going to keep life between screens as a documentation of my personal journey. And then we're going to start very soon, Art of the Craft, which is going to be talking to designers and business owners to see what they look for that goes into their designs or their business. Still trying to figure out whether we're just going to do Art of the Craft and keep it brewery related. But I feel like there's a lot of good artists out there that I really want to talk to, and not just, I want to be able to pick their brains, and I don't want to just limit it, but maybe we'll do that. And got a third podcast coming called Creative Marks, based around the designs of wrestling, and old, old and new. And we're going to be breaking them down and featuring some designs for every episode, and discussing the state of wrestling as we know it for that week. There's a lot that's going on with the squared circle, man. There's a lot that's going on. Oh, man. So, I haven't really seen too many people talk about wrestling designs. I haven't. So, one of my dad's old mentors always used to say, "Hit them where they ain't." I think that's where that's what I'm going to be doing. Hit them where they ain't. So, anyways, man, I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you letting me talk again for an hour, and to get this off my chest, and to help me realign and recalibrate. What my goals and virtues and values are, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out. Please feel free to leave a comment. Hit like, subscribe. And Sean, you were wondering why there was no, you didn't hit the little bell for the notification, man. You got to hit the bell after you hit subscribe, so that way you get notified when I upload a new episode. We're gonna be back on. The weekly tip. We're gonna be back on the weekly uploads. So, and we'll be getting on Libsyn soon, like I said, so that way you can listen to wherever podcasts are found. You don't have to necessarily just watch on YouTube, even though I know you want to see this pretty mug all the time. So, yeah, man, we're moving. We're moving. 1% better every day. I'm not trying to build Rome in a day. That's my most important lesson. Just 1% better. How, what can I do today to make myself a better person? I think if we all, I'm not trying to be holier than thou. Definitely not. Just, I feel like if we all took 1% more responsibility of ourselves and took that hard look, the tide is going to rise everybody up. The tide lifts everybody up. So I want to thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you again for tuning in. Check me out next week when I come again with another episode of Life Between Screens. My name is Anthony Urquidez. I appreciate you. Until next time.